Welcome to WatchMojoUK, and today we're counting down our picks for the most despicable characters that frequent our TV screens in no particular order.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Number 20. Nasty Nick Bateman. Nicholas Bateman came into the public eye in the first series of Big Brother back in 2000. He was relatively well liked within the house, but on the outside, he was despised. The tabloids quickly gave him his title, Nasty Nick, on account of his manipulative behaviour and his attempts to rig the voting system by influencing his housemates to evict specific contestants. Eventually, his sly tactics were exposed, and when fellow housemate Craig Phillips confronted him, they found his tactics violated the rules, and the show's producers asked him to leave. His actions are now mild by today's reality TV standards, but at the time, they were seen as underhanded and sneaky, causing him to become the most despised contestant in Big Brother history. Number 19. Paul Des Ballard. Paul Ballard was an English television presenter, better known by his name Des, who co-presented Dig It alongside Fern Cotton. His last TV appearance was in 2001, and he then vanished from the public eye until February 2020, when he caused a horrifying 8-car pileup while intoxicated in Essex, taking the lives of 2 people. This wasn't the end of his misdeeds, as in September 2020, he disturbingly assaulted and threatened to kill a woman. The court found him guilty of both crimes and sentenced him to a total of 19 years in jail. Number 18. Simon Cowell. Simon Cowell is one of the most prominent figures in television history, famous for judging The X Factor, where he gave brutal critiques of contestants, often devastating them. He's since gained a reputation for arrogance, garnering him the nickname Mr. Nasty. He relentlessly pursues talent, making him both revered and reviled. Many fans admire his straightforward attitude. However, critics believe he belittles others simply for entertainment. Beyond judging talent shows, his music industry influence is significant, having launched the careers of many artists such as One Direction and Susan Boyle. Whether you love him, or more likely hate him, he's left an undeniable mark on British reality TV. Number 17. Jim Davidson. Comedian Jim Davidson rose to fame in the 70s and 80s, after starring in popular television shows The Generation Game and Big Break. His career has always been controversial, since his comedy often includes politically incorrect jokes about sensitive topics such as race, gender, sexuality, cancer victims, and disabled people. Critics regularly accuse his jokes of being outdated and offensive, which he always refuses to apologise for. In 2003, he complained about a large number of wheelchair users in his audience, worried that his ableist jokes would offend them. His bad jokes aren't the only reason people hate him. He's also been involved in legal issues, such as allegations of sexual misconduct. Number 16. Russell Brand. Comedian and actor Russell Brand is famous for his flamboyant style, Essex accent, and controversial opinions. He became prominent during the early 2000s for his stand-up performances and hosting Big Brother spin-off shows. He then went on to star in numerous films, such as St. Trinian's and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Throughout his career, he's faced numerous accusations of misogyny due to his often sexualized jokes and remarks regarding women. In 2023, Brand was hit with multiple allegations of sexual misconduct, including accusations of assault and abuse. He's now mostly seen on YouTube. Number 15. Jeremy Kyle. Next we have what some have called one of the most vile characters to ever grace television screens, Jeremy Kyle. Everyone knows him for his confrontational and extremely exploitative daytime talk show, The Jeremy Kyle Show, which ran from 2005 to 2019. The program quickly gained notoriety for its provocative format, which featured guests seeking resolutions to personal issues through heated confrontations. Kyle had an aggressive attitude, which capitalized on the vulnerabilities of guests for entertainment. In 2019, Steve Diamond appeared on the show, hoping to prove his faithfulness to his ex-partner. Kyle made him take a famously unreliable lie detector test, which he unfortunately failed. Kyle then humiliated Diamond, who took his own life because of it only 1 week later, and his despicable show was finally cancelled. Number 14. Max Clifford. Max Clifford was a prominent public relations consultant who became known for having high-profile clients and controversial tactics. He became famous in the 1980s for his well-known PR escapades, such as manipulating media narratives and using sensational stories to maintain public image. His fall from grace began in 2014, when he was convicted of multiple counts of indecent assault towards a handful of women. This tarnished his legacy and exposed a darker side to Clifford's character. He was found guilty and sentenced to 8 years in prison, where he later died of a heart attack in 2017. Number 13. John Earl. John Earl was widely known in the 1960s, particularly for hosting shows Jackanory and Tom Tom. On Jackanory, he narrated stories for young audiences to encourage them to read. He had an ability to bring stories to life that quickly made him a cherished figure in children's television. His career later became notorious for controversies, the most major being indecent abuse of a 9-year-old boy while working as a teacher. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison for this back in 2017 and has, thankfully, since vanished from the public eye. Number 12. Steve Kish. Steve Kish used to host the CBBC show Officially Amazing, where he was nicknamed Sizzlin' Steve. This was a children's TV show that showcased unique personalities and talents, such as peculiar world record holders. His public image took a turn for the worse in the late 2010s, when he was convicted for offences related to animal cruelty. He was found guilty of serious charges, such as possession of grossly offensive images of dogs on his phone and computer. His family dog was confiscated by police. Kish was sentenced to 6 months in prison and banned from contact with dogs for 5 years. Number 11. Adam Britton. Crocodile expert Adam Britton used to be a famous zoologist who worked extensively with the BBC and on National Geographic productions, but is currently better known as a dog abuser than a crocodile guru. An investigation into animal cruelty led to his arrest in 2019, when it was discovered that he'd been engaging in the indecent abuse of canines for numerous years. Police found that he'd been producing and distributing disturbing videos, and in the 18 months before his arrest, he abused 42 dogs, of which only 3 survived. Apparently, he had these interests since he was a child and first abused horses when he was 13. In 2020, he was sentenced to more than a decade in prison. Number 10. Katie Hopkins. After gaining some publicity in 2007 for appearing in The Apprentice, it didn't take too long for Hopkins to show her true colours. She has regularly spouted views that many see as racist. In 2015, she called migrants crossing the sea into the UK cockroaches and suggested using gunships to deter them. The following year, when a UK Muslim family were rejected from travelling to the US, Hopkins decided to label the family as extremists, when there was no link at all. Then in 2017, after the Manchester attack, she tweeted about needing a final solution. Whilst she claims she meant to say true solution, that didn't stop her from being dropped by LBC. Number 9. Freddie Starr. Better known for the infamous Freddie Starr Ate My Hamster story, Starr has always been a controversial comedian. In 2012, he attempted to issue an injunction to stop the media from reporting on a story about him. This was related to allegations that Starr was a close associate of Jimmy Savile when they appeared on an episode of Clunk Click in 1974, and Starr was accused of assaulting a young person backstage. In 2015, Starr issued a libel case against the woman that accused him of assaulting her. His case was rejected, but the judge stated that the woman's story was true. However, too much time had passed for them to legally pursue it. Starr reportedly had a legal bill of £1 million. Number 8. Andrew Bennett. Gogglebox is usually a fun, relaxing show to watch. Just seeing people taking in that week's TV schedule with witty comments was always delightful. But then Andrew Bennett appeared in the 12th series, and, in retrospect, it's uncomfortable viewing to see those repeats. In 2022, Bennett appeared in court for assaulting an underage teenager and forcefully giving him love bites. Bennett originally denied the charges and blamed his actions on slimming drugs. Yet once his DNA was linked to the teenager, he changed his tune. He admitted to multiple crimes on that grim night. Bennett was jailed for 29 months, forced to follow a harm order for 10 years, and signed the offender register. Number 7. Ben Thomas. At one point, Thomas was a big part of BBC Wales by presenting on shows like Wales Today and the young person show Feel. In 2005, he quit the broadcasting world and became a church minister. Then in 2020, he was sentenced for horrific crimes. From 1990 to 2019, Thomas committed various acts against children and men in Wales, London, Shropshire and Romania. Starting his reign of terror as a 14-year-old, he later used his power as a church leader and presenter to take advantage of his victims. Thomas admitted to 40 offences altogether. He was sentenced to 10 years and 4 months in jail. After his release, he'll be on the offender register for life. Number 6. Dave Lee Travis. When it came to music broadcasting, Travis did it all. He presented Top of the Pops, was a DJ for multiple radio shows, and was even involved with the Eurovision Song Contest. Then, in 2012, he was arrested as part of the investigation for Operation U-Tree. In early 2014, he stood trial for 14 counts of assault on women aged between 15 to 29. He was found not guilty for 12 counts, but a verdict couldn't be reached for the other 2. So, in late 2014, a retrial began. He was found guilty on 1 count of groping a researcher for the Mrs. Merton Show and received a prison sentence of 3 months, suspended for 2 years. Many were angry at the lenient punishment. Number 5. Peter Rowell. At one time, ITV West Country News would regularly showcase this presenter. Considering Rowell's controversial comments about Princess Diana in 1997, when he remarked on her chest shortly after her passing was announced, he was lucky to still have a prominent media job. In 2011, news leaked that Rowell had gone missing after he didn't show up for work. After being found, he was soon arrested. The reason he vanished was that the police had seized his computer, which contained over 400 indecent images of underage persons. In 2012, Rowell admitted to 12 charges of assault on young girls and other charges of possessing and making those grim images. He received a sentence of 6 years in prison and was placed on the offender register. Number 4. Fred Talbot. Best known for presenting in northwest England for ITV and for being the early weather presenter for This Morning, Talbot's career took a massive nosedive in 2012 when his home was raided by police. In 2015, he stood trial on allegations that he assaulted numerous teenagers when he was a school teacher. Talbot denied the charges. However, he was found guilty of assaulting 2 teenage boys. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in prison, but he could be considered for release after 2.5. But then, Talbot found himself in court twice in 2017. Firstly, he was found guilty of assault and received a 4-year sentence. In the second trial, he got 8 months for another assault. He was released in 2019. Number 3. Stuart Hall. From being on sports programs like A Question of Sport, game shows like It's a Knockout, or many other projects, Hall was everywhere at one point. Due to his long service to broadcasting, he was awarded an OBE in 2011. The following year, he was arrested for multiple counts of indecent assault. Originally he denied the claims, but he changed his tune and admitted to 14 charges in the pre-trial. He received just a 15-month sentence, but outrage at the leniency doubled it to 30 months. In another trial in 2014, Hall was found guilty on 2 counts and received a further 2.5-year sentence. He was released in 2015 and showed no remorse as he publicly declared his victims were vindictive, malicious people. Number 2. Rolf Harris. When he wasn't painting the Queen's portrait or showcasing the creatures in Animal Hospital, Harris could be found making a career out of music and creating the wobble board. After getting various honours, he was arrested in 2012 under Operation U-Tree. In 2014, he was found guilty of 12 counts of indecent assault of girls. He received a sentence of 5 years and 9 months. In 2017, Harris faced a new trial with a further 7 allegations. After being acquitted of 3 charges, a retrial began. However, the jury was unable to come to a decision on the remaining 4 counts. Whilst undergoing this retrial, Harris was released from prison from his 2014 sentencing and later had one of the charges overturned. Number 1. Jimmy Savile. After making his name as a TV presenter, Savile began giving back to the community with volunteer work by working closely with hospital facilities. But that's not what actually happened. This was an elaborate cover story for him to wreak havoc in people's lives. After his passing in 2011, a host of allegations came out about Savile. In 2013, over 450 people had made complaints about his terrible actions. Savile had manipulated everyone around him for years as he assaulted adults and, mainly, children. Some of his victims were in extremely vulnerable situations. Investigations into the NHS and BBC ensued in the aftermath as people tried to figure out how he got away with this for so long.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojoUK and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.